Ladies, gentlemen, we're live. It's Monday night. Stefan Bublo here with Glenn Higgs. We're going to talk about, is DY still DY? Join us in a second. Guys, we're back, Glenn. We're on. Ladies and gentlemen, Monday night, 8 p.m. Novak News. Tonight's topic, something that's near and dear to us, being that we are in DY, is DY still DY, Glenn?
Well, DY's had a lot of changes. It started off as sort of farmland back in the day, and then had a little caravan park down near the lagoon and house blocks.
Yep.
And those blocks were turned successfully in the 60s and 70s into units. Those units were predominantly for people just starting out, first home buyers, or people slowing down, elderly people that were moving out of a house into a unit. 80s, 90s, 2000, heavy rental area.
Yes.
50% of all the units in DY were rentals.
Yeah, wow.
And you'll find, some parts of DY still are predominantly rentals as well. But has DY changed? Sydney Morning Herald once said about DY, it's not as luxurious as some of your more expensive Northern Beaches suburbs, but it's like an old comfortable armchair. It's probably had too much use. Once you sit down in it, you never get out. So has DY changed? Yes, it has.
Absolutely. Used to have that, well, I don't know if I'll call it a stigma, but people used to make fun of us here in DY. They used to call it Bankstown by the beach.
Blacktown by the sea.
By the sea. What else have we heard, Glenn?
Oh, we've heard a lot of things about DY. We've heard in my time selling in DY, I would never live in DY.
We still hear that today. I still hear that from time to time. I'm looking at all these suburbs. What about DY? No, not DY. And we're like, why not? So we're going to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, so that sort of, I only want to live in freshwater, I only want to live in Manly and strata living, because DY is predominantly apartments. There's around 11,000 apartments in DY. Probably 2,000 of those have been built in the last decade. But everything that's been built has been occupied and sold and at huge prices, which has really pulled the DY market up. Like across the road from us, there'll be 300 units going in, starting price of a 2-bedroom apartment there, well over $1 million.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I think really, I feel the stigma of DY was really attached, because this is, if you're looking across the Northern Beaches, this is the highest density suburb that we've got. So obviously a lot of people living within one suburb. I think most people used to their suburban home, 2 or 3 cars on the street. You come to DY, streets are full of cars, parked cars. It's busy, it's active. But when you look at real estate, and I mean, and if it really was such a lower performing area, some of the transactions that occur now, there's multiple apartment sales north of the $3 million mark.
Correct.
House sales, pushing beyond $6 million in some areas too. So, it's really come a long way.
Well, it has come a long way, and it was always planned. Local government, we often talk about how they do the wrong thing, but I remember talking to a town planner. I was working in the Inner West around 2001, and they said that the plan for DY was high rise along Pitwater Road, and a landmark development. And 23 or 20 years later, we have 7 to 8 stories along Pitwater Road.
Yeah.
This was an area that, strip shopping wasn't working that well. Commercial went commercial residential. We went up in height. People from the units above came down and used the facilities, coffee shops, 7-Eleven type stores. Today, unfortunately, tobacconists use those facilities underneath and revitalise that Pitwater Road, because also too, there are clearways along them. And then they wanted a landmark development in DY, and that was Mariton.
Yes.
And Mariton, if you remember, was protested. People from all over Sydney came and protested about the high-rise going in at Mariton from St Ives, from the eastern suburbs, lower North Shore. And that's been a tremendous success.
Absolutely.
Where local people looking to downsize, looking for convenience, looking to have, shopping at the bottom, basically, of their building, catch the lift down, walk outside into the most modern Woolworths in New South Wales. All the amenities around that town centre, which, if you remember DY, Barunka had a shop there. She had a chicken shop there many, many years ago. The greatest property manager in New South Wales that just happens to work for us. That was a pretty funny space down there. There was an old Waltons. Waltons went into receivership, and there wasn't much use of that premise other than for graffiti artists and people that love Brunka's chicken burgers.
There's a Video Easy there, Glenn.
A Video Easy,
Video Easy?
Video Easy. That was across the road. Could have
go.
been Civic Video on the other side.
Actually, I think you're right.
But now that's been revitalised. Well, I was walking through there with the family, and lots of little eateries, people living above it. Rather than sprawling out horizontal, we've gone up vertical. In DY, and it's been a tremendous success. So is DY what it used to be? No. We have 2 Coles supermarket chains or franchises in the area. We have a Woolworths, we have an Audi. We have every sort of medical practitioner you would need, solicitors, accountants. What we don't really have is apparel. We don't have anyone selling clothing. We have, like a lot of street shopping, we have your $2 shop, your reject shop, and so on. So, DY has definitely changed.
DY has definitely changed. I think also, if it was me looking back on DY, Glenn, I think you've been here a little bit longer than I have, respectfully.
Thank you,
in
sir.
a good way. I started my real estate career back in 2000 in an office here in DY. And what I've noticed since that day, since that beginning time frame to today, is a few triggers that have really, I guess, uplifted DY. And I would go back as far as to say, even before Mariton, it was really, Warringah Council at the time did a great job in identifying DY Beach as being a beachfront that can really be transformed to accommodate eating, entertainment, great dining, great food, great drinks, get an ice cream. You can cross the road, you're on the beach. Beautiful beach. They did all those stairs. Remember, I can't even remember what was there before we had the stairs, Glenn, at the beach. The pool's been updated. Now they do fireworks. They do Christmas carols. There's this huge input, I think, generated really by the council. I think they deserve a lot of
they have.
And that sparked that process, in my opinion, brought a lot of interest into DY Beachfront. Obviously, some really, really high-end real estate when you're there. And that's transformed through.
Well, our mayor of DY for 14 years, Mr. Regan, now a member of the state parliament, they had identified that, because the population is so dense, 11,000 units. To give you an idea, in outlying suburbs, Beacon Hill, 2,500 houses, Cromer, 2,500 houses, DY 11,000 units, and you can walk from one end of DY. You can walk the boundaries of DY in a couple of hours. It's not a big space. You'd be hard pressed to do that in these suburbs with 2,000 homes in them. But they identified that the people of DY needed something for recreation, and identified the beachside and also Watergall Park.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was old council homes. If you ever drive into DY along Howard Avenue, there's a great, kids park and outdoor barbecue area. And they surveyed people in DY and they said, what do you love about DY? Everyone said, the park area down DY Beach. And it was really becoming too crowded based on its own success. So the council that owned a set of maybe 7 homes there, demolished them and put parklands in. and move the community facilities or the community work back into council from out of there. So once again, really, really good planning. And it's interesting when good planning and then with that planning backing from the state government, how you can improve an area and increase the density.
Yeah.
So when the Mariton came along, part of the plan for DY was to have express buses into the city. And now we've got double-decker buses.
Yes, the B-line.
B-line's
been a huge implementation.
Every
Not only DY, but across the beaches.
Every 5 minutes, picking you up from the corner of Howard Avenue and Pitwater Road. Still more work to go, upgrading around the library. The library is actually will never change and will never move.
Fantastic library.
That's actually a heritage building.
Right.
So it's a form of brutalist architecture. So that, and might be architects watching, or there might be no one watching, but that's a form of architecture where it's all about looking out. So big planes of glass, high ceilings, and then a very raw aesthetic from the outside. And it's actually listed that of historical significance. I think about 1964, the library was built.
Yep.
And fantastic resource. I think an underused resource. That new PCYC club was built in DY as well.
Well said.
Fantastic basketball courts coming in. And all that, when you say has DY changed, my daughter's 15. When she was in year 2, there was one kindergarten class in DY public school. That's now running at 5.
Yeah.
So we went from 30 kids enrolling in DY public school to 150. Now, that has a little bit to do with the tightening by the state government in people's school shopping and not going to their local school. But it's also, as real estate prices increase, the homes we can afford and choose to live in change. So that notion that you can't have a family unless you live in a home on 500 square metres with a backyard, front yard and a couple of dogs has changed to where people can live in smaller families, mind you, probably a maximum of 3 people per family, in 2-bedroom units with maybe 2 bathrooms. Statistically, the number of people that reside in each dwelling in Australia is 2.4.
Yeah, wow.
So that sort of ties in a little bit when you say there's a home shortage. If you think we built 170,000 homes last year, 2.5 people living in them, we had over 500 people immigrate to Australia.
Yeah.
So that's why we're always short. So in a nutshell, has DY changed? Yes.
Yeah. One thing I'd also like to add with Glenn talking particularly about that Mariton and the new infrastructure is DY has been one of the suburbs. I think I won't say it's a guinea pig, but it's definitely been the starting point for this kind of post-2000 development that we've seen across the northern beaches, particularly in the apartment market. But what you need to realise as somebody living within the suburb is as these new developments come into play, there's contribution fees which are paid towards the local council to provide better services. So the more development coming into the suburb means that there's been an influx of income that can be invested back into the community. And like you said, the park, the PCYC, the B-line. Look at from Howard Avenue to walk down to the beach. It's wide footpaths. It's paved. It's beautiful trees. It's a great spot.
Well, it's a boardwalk that runs down Howard Avenue outside the front of the Mariton development. On one side, the footpath would be approximately 3 metres wide that enables people to get down and ride their bikes, ride their scooters, ride their skateboards, walk. My 88-year-old mother walks 600 metres to the beach twice a day to keep fit. And that was all from the Mariton contribution. Yeah. So, there is some good things that come with development, with a lot of people, especially, I'm a swinging voter, so I don't vote either way, but for either side, I vote for who I think is the best. But with the Labor government, they're really pro-Big Australia. they're hoping to get to 40 million.
Yeah, wow.
By, I think it's 2050. So these vertical suburbs that we're getting in DY, where we already have facilities. So we have supermarkets, we have express buses into the city, we have doctors, we have medical centres. It works pretty well. Problems, parking. It is a problem. Maybe eventually we'll have to change our relationship to how many cars a family has,
Yep.
But that's hard if you need a car for your job. We understand. But DY is getting a little bit, I used to live in a suburb of Potts Point in the city, and that's the densest populated suburb in Australia. And basically, if you had to park on the street after 5 o'clock, it could take 2 hours to find it. Before 5 o'clock, it was all right. But between 5 o'clock and about 8 o'clock in the morning, because Potts Point's the posh way of saying King's Cross, it was hard to get a park.
I think that's an issue facing a lot of suburbs.
Yeah, well, definitely with high density. So whether it's getting more transport in the city, share cars, go-gets, having parking spots for that. Electric bikes are incredibly popular on the northern beaches. Is it having bike racks with charging stations to get around?
We should get a bike like in high school, and I could give you double on the handlebars.
It'd have to be a big bike. and Steph, what would you see? Okay, we've identified that DY has changed. $3 million sales. Average apartment price is around $850.
Yeah.
2021, this time it was probably $950.
Yep.
What do you see moving forward in DY? What development do you see being in commercial? You've just sold 2 development sites.
Yeah. Obviously, I still think when you're looking not only DY but most of the beaches, there's still opportunity along the Pitwater Road, kind of arterial road. It's easier to find existing commercial real estate that can be redeveloped and redesigned to still support commercial with residential above. I still think that there's room for DY to grow in regards to transit links. I know that there was big talks, particularly with what's coming up in Brookvale, the intersection of Warringah Road, Pitwater Road here. There's going to be, hopefully things coming up there in the future. But one thing I think I really want to harper on with DY as well is that over time, I think really the stigma started because it was the highest density suburb. High density is now quite common across the beaches. I think it's something that other people can look at to say, look, this is a model of how we've incorporated 1960s and 70s development with a combination of 2000, 2010 and 2020 development to make a thriving working community. I see that as a real positive for DY. Like you were saying, Glenn, the catchment zones to get into the public school have shrunk so much that, as much as your mum lives around the corner, my grandmother's got a home up the road too, and she's in DY, but the school catchment's Brookvale.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many kids going to DY, and families like it. I didn't grow up in DY, but I lived here for a number of years with my wife before we were married. She was studying in the city. There's a bus straight to the city.
Yep.
There's a Coles at the end of the street. We walk down to the beach after work, some daylight savings, go down, get a drink, go for a walk. It's just fantastic, and the lifestyle to me is really, really outstanding. It still represents value because of the density. So there's competition in the marketplace. I just think it's a really good spot to be.
Well, I think that stigma of DY was something around the 70s, maybe early 80s. You got to remember back then, it was unusual for people to live in apartments.
Yes.
Other than maybe in the eastern side. Yes.
Yeah.
And families to live in apartments. Back, I think in about 1974. It might have been about 1979, 1980. I think I was in high school. The population of Australia was 16 million.
Mm-hmm.
Areas on the northern beaches back in the 70s, Mona Vale and further up, were just starting to be opened up.
That's true.
And then you had a suburb of DY, and if you drive through DY, you can see, they were sort of 1940s, 1950s sort of double brick homes on double blocks. Really, really easy for someone to build 12 units on.
Yep.
The general construction was that it would be an owner builder who'd go in there. He'd have a team that worked with him. They'd build a unit. The owner may live in one. That's why often in DY you get one unit that has a bigger storeroom, or it has a wraparound balcony or a rooftop garden and all these sorts of things, because that's the way it was. It wasn't like today with construction companies or developers that then got subcontractors to build them. It was predominantly owner builders. Lucky for us selling them, most of these units are double brick with concrete slabs, all of them.
Yeah.
Up until about 2000, when we started constructing them more concrete slab, steel sort of framing, and then cladding, which has proven to be really problematic. I see DY as continuing to grow. It will get busier and busier. That busyness will give us more amenities. Parking will be a little bit of a problem. A couple of traffic jams, but people are being attracted to DY now because it offers so much.
Yep.
It's not a sleepy little town. It does give people an option if they're downsizing not to use the car. And there are apartments big enough for families to live in as well. So I think DY, in the last couple of years, I've had people say to me, I only want to buy in DY, when that wasn't the case. So only good things for DY.
I think before we go, let's have a bit of fun. Let's talk about some of the nostalgic businesses that have run out of DY, Glenn. Who comes to mind with you straight away thinking DY business?
Well, there was never a function at the Great Northcote called Surf Club without catering from Coyle's Chicken.
Coyle's Chicken.
Coyle's Chicken.
Big brand.
It was sort of down on Fisher Road, and we would get boxes of chicken. And on the invitation for a barn, a big Barney sort of function was all you can drink and Coyle's Chicken for dinner. And we thought that was pretty flash.
I've got a couple that stand out. Mike Pauly's Sports Warehouse.
Still going.
Still going. Used to have the massive warehouse here across the road. You could even swing a cricket bat in there, give it a test.
Oh, mate, my dad was always working, so Mum used to go down there and talk to Mike. There was a little bit of flirting going on, I think, and
anything for that 10%,
get the Adidas soccer boots and rugby league boots.
What about the Jet? It was the Jet Club when I was a kid, the DY Hotel. I don't know what it was called when you were.
Yeah, it was the Jet Club, but they had a room out the back when I first started heading out.
This is a PG show,
and it was called the Glider Room, and you could go there and see Spy versus Spy. Wow. And you could see the Radiators. Down one of the classic gigs was actually Cold Chisel played. There was Manly Vale Hotel.
Played in DY.
Yeah. Manly Vale Hotel. You can jump on YouTube, and they sing Looking Like a Refugee. Love it. Loves Me Like a Choir. I think I forget what the song, but I know the chorus. DY Hotel, very, very popular for live bands. A little bit before my time, but I'm sure you would have had local bands like In Excess and Midnight Oil playing there. Yeah. DY Hotel still going.
DY Hotel. Is the Time and Tide DY?
No. Okay. Time and Tide's down. It's probably on the cusp of Chroma. Yep. DY RSL,
absolutely. What a landmark now.
Yeah, probably one of the biggest clubs outside of
in the country.
Bankstown Sports, and I think Penrith Panthers Leagues Club.
Yep.
So fantastic success.
Beautiful. That's good. One other thing, I will find it, but I have got photos from when I was starting real estate. The Olympic torch coming through DY. I'm going to find it. we're going to put it on our site.
We'll put it on. But look, everything DY. If you ever want to know anything about DY trends in DY, is DY a good place to buy? Definitely. Rents on DY. We had a slide of that the other week. Some of the highest increases throughout New South Wales, basically because nowhere's further than 800-metre walk to the beach, 200-metre walk to Coles, Woolworths, Audi, and all the specialist shopping you could want.
Yep, fantastic, Glenn, obviously just a wealth of local knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, DY resident. My mum's about 400 metres from me, and yeah, we really enjoy it.
Fantastic. Guys, thanks for joining us. Any questions, as always, reach out. Love to help you. DY, Northern Beaches, anything we can.
Good night.
Thank you.